emergency?
A bit of emergency, yeah. Just a smidge little situation. It seems that Mo and Curly wanted to bake a few dozen cookies, and when they were done, well, I guess Curly's arms weren't long enough to be able to open the oven door, and
Oh. Well, you got me in suspense. And what happened?
well, there might have been a little fire in your kitchen.
Wait, my kitchen is on fire?
No. Mo put the fire out with water, and well, he doesn't exactly know his own strength, so when he turned on the water, he broke the pipe right off, and where's the main shut off for your water?
What? Is my kitchen being flooded with water?
Yeah, you sure could say that, yes.
Oh.
Big geyser. Looks like Old Faithful in there.
Oh no, I gotta shut the water off at the main. Oh, this is terrible.
Don't worry, Doc. Mo and Curly are going to help you. And on a completely unrelated note, you need a new shop vac.
Oh no.
What was that all about? Oh, just another problem with Mo and Curly. It seems they might have caused a water geyser to appear in the kitchen. Are you okay?
Well, yes, but admittedly a little confused.
I know the feeling, but I don't think I've ever seen you confused before. What's going on?
Well, ever since those dinosaurs destroyed my car, I've been stuck here listening to all the things that you and Doc have had to say and what you've been teaching these kids about a loving God and his wonderful creation. And I have to admit, it sounds wonderful.
It is wonderful, Professor. God created an amazing, beautiful world, and the dinosaurs we're studying are part of that beautiful, peaceful creation.
Well, I've always been taught that this world came into being without God through things like the Big Bang and evolution. I've always believed that we were just a result of millions of years of nature just changing itself. But I can't help but feeling it's all empty and meaningless.
I understand. You know, without God at work through everything, it really would be empty and meaningless.
And yet, the idea of a big, wonderful God just magically creating everything just feels like a child's fairy tale.
I understand that. But there's another way to look at it. Take this phone, for example. How did it come to be here?
You mean, how was it created?
Yeah.
Well, it's an iPhone, and it says Apple on the back, so clearly Apple built it.
Exactly. This phone is made up of dozens of parts, and many of those parts are made up of a great many smaller parts. Each of these parts had to be perfectly designed to fit together and to do their job so that this phone could work. And if any of those parts didn't fit or didn't all work at the same time, my phone wouldn't work. So wouldn't it be a little foolish for us to imagine that this phone, with all of its parts, just came together by itself? Or doesn't it make more sense to believe that Apple designed and built it just as they say they did?
Well, I see your point, Miss Blunderhoff.
All this creation around us, including our own bodies, are far more complicated than this phone. How could we pretend that it wasn't all designed and built by an intelligent, thoughtful God, especially when he tells us he built it, just like Apple tells us they built the iPhone? Romans 1:20 tells us that since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that men are without excuse.
You're saying that all creation tells you that God is real?
Yes, exactly. And when you study the creation as a real scientist, you're studying the beautiful work of God.
But that's what I can't understand. You describe a world that was created by a good and loving God, where there was no death and no pain, and all the creatures lived in peace, but that is not the world I've seen. I look around and I see a world full of evil and suffering, and it keeps reminding me.
Reminding you of what?
That the world isn't beautiful, that my world isn't beautiful. I was happy as a child, I really was. My family even went to church sometimes, but then it all fell apart. Mom got sick and the doctors didn't know what to do for her. The hospital bills just kept piling up, and Things just got really tough between my mom and my dad.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know.
Mom kept getting sicker, and money started running out, and Dad was under so much pressure. And then came the yelling, more and more yelling. I prayed over and over for God to fix everything, but He didn't. He didn't. Mom and Dad split up a few months later, and they were never the same. Neither was I. So you see, when you tell me about a world that God lovingly created with no sickness or evil or death that does not fit what I have seen.
It's true. The world is a hard place, but God didn't create it to be that way.
So what you've told me, and I want to believe that there is a good loving God at work in all this, but I'm not sure I can.
I understand. But for whatever reason, God has brought you here, right now, where you're hearing about Him. Maybe God is giving you a chance to know Him right here tonight.
Well, I suppose as a scientist, I should be willing to consider that.
Then why don't you? You could sit in on some of the classes tonight and see what you can learn.
Well, I suppose I don't have anything to lose, do I?
I suppose not.
Well, I've taken enough of your time. Thank you so much for listening.
Of course. That's what friends are for.
Friends? Miss Vanderhoff, I've underestimated you.
So how'd it go?
Oh, that was such a mess. I
Did
can't
you,
even believe it.
Did you get everything fixed?
Well, Curly, as it turns out, actually fixed it. He just needed a little help with his short arms.
And it looked like a wrench as well.
Yes.
Curly is quite the plumber. When we're done here, Curly and Mo are going to help me install a hot tub in my backyard. Party time!
Oh, by the way, what was going on with the professor?
Yes. I think the professor is getting curious about God. We just had an interesting talk.
Praise God, I was hoping she would be interested.
I think she might sit in on some of the lessons tonight.
Well, she picked a good night for it. Tonight, we're going to learn about dinosaurs that might actually be described in the Bible.
Oh, yes. I love those parts. It's very fun to think of Bible characters who we know seeing actual dinosaurs.
Oh, it is going to be really interesting and exciting tonight, so we better get these kids off to their sessions. But before that, we need to remind them who's going to answer more questions, the boys or the girls.